Well, howdy everybody, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, making another video for you out of Boise, Idaho. This video is a possible series of videos. I may be able to get this all done in one part. There may be two parts. This video will explain removing the upper and lower intakes to replace the NOx sensors on your GM vehicle, whether it's a Cadillac Escalade, whether it's a Tahoe, 5.7 liter, 6.0 liter. This video will explain it for you. This is a 2005 Cadillac Escalade with a 6.0 liter engine in it. And so it's time to change the NOx sensors per request of the owner. Now, if you're changing the NOx sensors, if that's all you're going to do, one thing I want to point out right off the bat is you do not have to remove the throttle body, nor do you have to remove the fuel injectors. You can pull the fuel injectors and the fuel rail and the throttle body along with the upper intake all as one piece. So that'll save you the cost of that gasket and O-rings there. One thing that you do want to make sure that you pick up for this job, though, is new intake bolts. Make sure you get those, or you might not have an intake that seals accordingly. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm actually going to first thing I'm actually going to do is get rid of my air breather and tube and all that other stuff so I can have access. Then after that, I'm going to come in, I'm going to get rid of the alternator. I'm going to remove that also. I want this alternator out of the way just so I can have that extra room to maneuver and work in there. So to get this off, I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver for my hose clamps here. And then we're also going to need to remove the upper radiator hose. It's just a plastic connection, so you're going to unclip that and get that out of the way. And then you'll be able to remove your air breather there. Alright, so there you have it. Now we've got some open space in there. One thing I like to point out is when you're disconnecting your sensor here, all you have to do and you may not have a clip like this, you may, but if you see a clip like this, lift up on the gray plastic piece. That will unlock it, and then that will allow you to open it up. So I'm just going to take this and get this set aside somewhere safe where it will stay clean, and then next we'll go ahead and get our alternator out of the way. Alright, now before you go removing the alternator, first thing you want to do is disconnect your battery. That way you stay safe, you don't arc anything or cause any damage. Then, after you disconnected your battery, you're going to go over here to the passenger side of the engine, and with a 15mm socket, you're going to go clockwise and take tension off of your belt so you can remove your belt. Then, go back behind the alternator and go ahead and remove your electrical connections with a 10mm wrench, and then also with whatever you think you need to go ahead and get that electrical connection off. Alright, so after you've gotten your alternator disconnected electrically, and you've also got your belt off, go ahead and use a 15mm wrench or socket and pull out your two mounting bolts. Get a pry bar, and you just got to pry up until the alternator is free and clear. And then go ahead and remove your alternator. Go ahead and find a safe place for your alternator and your mounting bolts so you don't lose them. Now I'm going to start working from the driver's side to the passenger side, and I'm going to start disconnecting all of my little lines that I need to get the upper intake off. I also want to drain a little bit of coolant because some of these are coolant lines. You don't want to spill coolant all over the place. Okay, so starting from the front, I've got my coolant lines disconnected. Okay, and a few things I want to point out. I would like to show you is a fuel injector connector. Okay, now to get this off, you see it's a funky little mechanism there. Alright, it's fragile and it's easy to break. So to get this off, you just pull up on this part. As you can see, ready, watch. Put your thumb there, or your screwdriver, or your pick. Get in there. Pull up on that. And then push in right there. Okay, and you can even push in on your little clip there and then pull it right off. And just take your time, don't get frustrated with it. Also, your evap line that runs from front to back, as you can see, I got it out. In order to disconnect it, let me give you an example here. See if I can get this back on here. Okay, so to disconnect it, you're going to push in, see? Push in, and then just pull up. And fight with it a little bit if you have to. And there you go, it'll come right off. Now, it runs from front to back on the driver's side of the 6.0. And if you just, again, take your time and work with it, you can and will be able to weave that out of there and set that aside. So now I'm going to go after some more electrical connections, and then we'll start taking bolts out. So from here on out, you're pretty much going to be using a 10 millimeter. And it's time to start getting all these covers off so we can get these electrical lines up and out of our way. We're also going to get our quick disconnect tool so we can disconnect the fuel rail from the system and see if we can get this upper intake off. Alright, and so as you can see in here now, I've got my covers off, my electrical's disconnected, I've got my sensor in the back revealed, and I've got that disconnected. And so now I'm going to use my 3/8 quick disconnect tool. I'm going to push that in, pull my fuel line in. I may need both hands to do this. And there we go. Now I've got my fuel line disconnected. I'm going to double check and make sure I've got everything disconnected. And then I'm going to go ahead and attempt to remove the upper intake. Okay, folks, don't take these videos, don't underestimate these videos. They may only be 10 minutes long. There's definitely 20-30 minutes or more of wrestling with bolts and taking things apart and whatnot. But after you've gotten all your electrical connections and have disconnected your fuel line and everything, you can go ahead and remove the intake as one whole unit without having to remove the throttle body or the fuel injectors, and that'll save you those gaskets and whatnot. I do recommend replacing the bolts. GM sells, and your parts house will sell a kit for that. And now, as you can see down here, this is the engine plate, also known as the valley, all that other good stuff. I'm not going to get too technical with you. So now it's time to go ahead and get the engine plate off, this engine plate, and there's a gasket underneath here as well. And these also are bolts that you want to replace. And so once I get this engine plate off, I'll need to stop and call the owner and tell him that I forgot that we need to replace the bolts as well, and then go from there. And there you go, folks. That's how you remove your upper intake and lower engine plate, cover, whatever you want to call it there. I apologize. I'm getting tired here, guys. It's getting late in the day for me. So there you go. Now, while we're in there, I went ahead and removed the engine cover so we could replace the gaskets and all that other good stuff in there. Here are our old NOx sensors with connectors, old connectors and whatnot. I'll cut these out and replace these with new connectors, new NOx sensors. I'll show you how I solder that in tomorrow's video. And we've got new intake gaskets, the whole 9 yards. And there she is. So I'm going to get this all covered up. I'm going to call it a day for today. Get back at it first thing in the morning and see where we're at. Well, everybody, I got this done in one video for you, so I really appreciate you hanging out with me and supporting me. This is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share the knowledge. I'm signing off.